My name's Renita Bartlett. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I live here in Cochrane, and I'm married to Jennifer, my wife. We've been married for just over, I think, 8 years. I'm a proud member of the 2S LGBTQIA community. That's who I am. My wife and I had a nice condo in the Mission area in Calgary, and years ago there was a fire there, and we were all evacuated at 5 a.m. in the morning, and so out we went, and when we went outside we realized that we didn't know anybody. So we didn't know our neighbors, we didn't know anybody in the building. We came out to, fire trucks, and people were upset, but we didn't recognize anybody. So that really impacted us. So we wanted to move to a community that was a little bit smaller so that we could get to know our neighbors. Both of us are from small-ish communities on the other side of the country. So we wanted to go back to kind of our roots that way. There wasn't a lot of talk about gender and sexually diverse individuals in the community. I grew up in a small town called Truro, and there was, 12,000 people. I think there's probably 12,000 there. Like, it's relatively small, and it wasn't a conversation that happened in the community. There was no kind of support. I thought for sure I was the only gay person there, like, clearly, because I didn't see anybody else. And so I think for myself growing up, I really struggled with the fact that I didn't see myself in the community. I didn't really know what my community would look like, but I didn't feel connected to where I lived because I didn't feel a part of the community. And so, I made do, and I, did what I needed to do. But I spent a lot of time living in the shadows or living in the closet, as many of members of the community do, right? And that's, safety and just not sure kind of where we fit, right? Like, I had lots of individuals that I looked up to that perhaps, were like athletic and things like that, but never anybody that identified as queer. So it was, for me, I felt really isolated a lot, but I feel, like I said, I filled my time. I played sports and stuff, so I could kind of, hide that part of me. But thinking back now, like, it was really impactful because, I knew that I was gay from a very young age, and but I might not have known the language because it was never talked about, right? And so, it was a real struggle, like, especially in my teen years where, I was watching friends, dating, going on dates and stuff, and that was never going to happen for me. And it didn't. Kind of having that experience of, like, going on dates or, going to the prom with, like, I just didn't. And so I think that impacted me a lot. Definitely impacted my mental wellness for sure. I didn't see any heroes. I didn't know what a hero would be in the gay community. It was never talked about. In fact, the opposites were talked about. Like, if you're gay, you're going to get AIDS. And so it, like, all that stigma that came with it, right? So it was always like, I'm not, like, I don't want to have a conversation. I never denied it, but nobody ever asked either, right? But I know that if somebody had have asked me, I wouldn't have denied it. But I think it was just so taboo that, people didn't ask, and there was certainly no, like, GSAs or QSAs or anything like that in my schools. It's brilliant now that there's all these things in the community, and I love it. But certainly, we didn't see any pride flags or anything like that in the small town that I grew up in. And I didn't experience it until I moved to, like, the big city of Halifax. And then I realized that there was a community, and I found my people. So that was kind of neat. Growing up, like, backing up to, like, the small town, I was pretty fortunate to be connected with amazing youth workers. So when I kind of transitioned into the big city, like, I was still in contact with them. So So that was really, really nice, because then I could say, hey, like, I'm coming into my own, I'm gay, this is who I am, and really have them kind of provide that support. I think I was more open with friends, but it took me a little while. Like, it took me a little while to be open with my family, although they thought they already knew, but anyway, they just didn't tell me. But yeah, so I think that, I felt supported. Like, when I finally came out and I felt safe and comfortable, I felt supported. But I know that comes with a lot of privilege, and that's not how it is for everybody in the community. And so I don't want to put it out there that that's, that everybody's safe, right? Like, safety is kind of a big thing. So, but I had individuals in my life that they celebrated with me. People, we're all different. And so the queer community, not one of us is the same. Not one of our journeys is the same. Everybody's coming out story is different. And so I think being really mindful that if somebody's coming out to you, it's a big deal. It means that you're a safe person for them too, and really honoring that, right? Like, some of the best conversations I've had are with, parents in the community, and they'll say, oh, my kiddo came out to me, and they reach out to me and tell me, and I get all excited. I'm like, you should buy them a cake, like, and stuff like that. Because it's a big deal. It's not just, I got a new puppy or whatever. Like, so I think really acknowledging and respecting that if that person had come out to you, that's a big deal. But that's also their story to tell, right? So I've had individuals come out to me, but I wouldn't share their story, because that's their journey, that's their story, right? I certainly feel comfortable and safe sharing mine on whatever platform it might be, but we're all different. And then really making sure that if they're going to tell their families, that individual is going to be safe, because we still know that a large percentage of our homeless population, whether it's in Cochrane or Calgary or Vancouver or wherever, identify as a member of the queer community because they've come out and it hasn't been safe, and they've lost their homes and they've lost their connections. So safety is really big, and that's why it's not enough to be like, to tell somebody, oh, that's great, now you can, tell the world, or go walk in Pride, or go to the flag raising, or things like that. Like that, there needs to be kind of that ability to see if that individual is going to be safe, right? So I always kind of caution that, even when I'm connecting with the kiddos, right? Like, it's awesome that you feel safe enough to identify who you are. But if you're going to take it to the next step to tell your family, let's look at that, what that's going to look like, what supports are there for you. There's lots of protests now. There's always been a lot of protests, but now they're elevating and stuff. So with regards to mental wellness, like especially over the last week, 2 weeks, specifically in Alberta, I've been really mindful about my mental wellness and who I'm reaching out to, and that I'm getting the support I need, because it's scary. Like, what's going on now is scary in the community, is scary for the community, right? And so I think there's always been like struggles, various times. Like, certainly when I was a teenager, obviously my first breakup was with a same-sex partner, was devastating, and things like that. But I think the level of homophobia, transphobia, aggression, and threats right now is elevated. So I think the community as a whole, we need to really be mindful about our mental wellness, and having those conversations, and checking in with each other to see that we're all doing okay, right? And I'm pretty connected to the queer community in Calgary, so I know who to reach out to if I need somebody to talk to. Rural Alberta is kind of flipping back. Like, it was, really, I saw a real headway a couple years ago of acceptance and support, and now I feel like it's maybe going a bit backwards. Here in Cochrane, we have pretty active QSAs and GSAs in the schools, which is really nice. There is kind of, a gap with the adults in Cochrane, but the kids can go to the club and hang out. And I know, Spray Lakes just started a 2S LGBTQIA group that meets on Saturdays, so that's really amazing. And so it's really good to see those supports happen for the youth here in the community. I know for myself, like now, a big thing that I've connected to or individual is Martin Boyce. So Martin Boyce he's one of the last standing activists of the Stonewall riots or uprising. And so I had the opportunity to meet him actually sitting right here last year. He did a presentation for the Cochrane community and then I spent some time with him a couple weeks ago. I got to spend the week with him. And I never, it's hard because, you turn on the TV and quite often you're seeing actors and actresses that are cisgender. And, a lot of times they're Caucasian. And so I can't really relate to that. But now I have Martin kind of in my life. And so when there is things going on in the community that are upsetting, I just reach out to him now because he obviously had seen a very different world back then in the 70s. So, and he's one of my heroes, right? And so now, after all these years, I can say, if somebody were to say who's your queer hero, it would be Martin Boyce. Whereas a couple years ago, I would be like, there isn't any. I get off social media. That's one thing I do. I find if I can remove some of the toxic stuff, my mental wellness is a lot better. I'm happily married, so my wife and I, we love doing things and spending time together and traveling. And so I'm very fortunate in that I have that strong, supportive, kind, caring relationship. I like to just relax and just turn off the world, right? I find for myself, because I do have the privilege of being very vocal and active in the queer community. I spend a lot of time having conversations about why we need to still celebrate Pride and why we need to, and still have supports for the queer community. But I also need to, I'm mindful that takes a lot out of me too. So I just turn off everything, or I put on, I'm a real reality TV person. So I just throw on some reality TV and, watch that and just take a step out of reality, right?